Welcome back to Patch. This week is our DLC episode. It's a special edition one because we've got an extra week in this particular month. And as a result, we're taking advantage of the fact that Jay isn't here to talk about a topic that's near and dear to both of our hearts, the Final Fantasy franchise. There's a range of different things that we're going to talk about, but in particular it's centered around the fact that there's a big announcement coming within a couple of days at the time you see this particular video. They'll be announcing the Final Fantasy 15 release date. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but we'll kick things off. I'm joined by Damo Camilleri.
Middle name Lewis. DLC. Amazing, right? Cool beans. Continue.
We'll edit that out. So we'll kick things off by talking about just the franchise, big picture sort of stuff. Final Fantasy. What was your first?
Oh, so long ago.
When was your Final Fantasy cherry popped?
This sounds really bad. But no. Final Fantasy 7 was my first. I remember my friend in Year 5 was talking about it shit tons, and I was like, I have to get this game. I have no idea what it's about. Fucking thing. And I remember seeing it in Target, in Water Gardens, and I'm like, Mom! I think I won on the Melbourne Cup or something like that, like in a sweepstakes thing or whatever.
You would have been like 7 or 8, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but kids enter like with that stuff. You know, parents put $2 and
yeah.
You know, I won. I think it was around 40 or something bucks, and yeah, it was on platinum. Final Fantasy 7. Boom. That's
a winner.
Yeah.
And what was your first impression when you played it? Given that you would have been, probably 7 or 8 at the time.
Way over my head. It was freaking sweet though. Like, I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. This is back in the day when I was only able to play like PlayStation for like half an hour at a time.
Because that's all the parents allowed.
Yeah. So, like, you know, Mum's like, go outside. And I'm like, I've got to save. And, you know,
they didn't understand that.
Played the fucking thing. And I was like, I think I killed that first boss, the scorpion robot thing, like 40 fucking times before I got to another save point. Like,
which is really sad because the save point's not that far
No,
away.
it's not.
It's like 2 minutes after that battle ends and you never got to see it.
It's just a shame. I mean, I'm king of it now. Slaughter that bitch.
You would. You've done it that many times.
Yeah, exactly. I know when not to attack, like when he lifts the tail. As a child, I didn't understand that. Yeah. Don't attack when it lifts its tail!
It chose to ignore.
I didn't read back then.
Illiterate kids. My first was a little bit earlier. I played Final Fantasy 6 or 3, as it was known for Westerners way back when it was on the Super Nintendo. Which, it depends on kind of what school camp you're from. 7 and 6 are regularly discussed as being among the best. Certainly among the best. Many will debate that it's one of those two that is the best, full stop. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. But 6 was what? 6 Super Nintendo, so more primitive in its looks. There was nothing polygonal about it as we got with Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9 or beyond. There was a really deep layer to it. 6 had moved on from the various class-based systems that you saw in some of the earlier entries, like Final Fantasy 4 and earlier. Again, we'll talk about kind of preferences when it comes to classes shortly, but I think classes probably would have completely overwhelmed me as... Look, it's Final Fantasy 6, I played it on my grandma's Super Nintendo. She would have lent it to me a few times, but I reckon I would have been 5, maybe 6 when I first played it. That was my first experience with Final Fantasy, and that was at the same time that I was being introduced to things like Earthbound, Chrono Trigger, and Secret of Mana, and a number of other kind of JRPGs at the time. I was born and bred on JRPGs, so so Final Fantasy maybe wasn't a massive step for me, even though I couldn't fully understand what was going on in terms of the story and maybe some of the more confusing language along the way. I'd kind of trained myself enough to, if I press this, this means this will happen, and kind of understood the menus and some of the basics of it. If I press attack, that means I'm going to punch someone in the face, sort of idea. And I learned enough from that, and I probably didn't gain a greater appreciation of it until maybe my teens when I went back to it again.
Yeah.
But so what? I mean, obviously that Final Fantasy 7 memory for you, the one you repeated numerous times, is one that stuck with you. What was was that also your maybe most treasured Final Fantasy memory?
What, killing that first boss?
Yeah.
No, fuck no.
What
That
was it?
game...
What was it?
You Fat Chocobo.
Fat Chocobo.
Yeah, when you summon Chuck and Mog or Fat Chocobo and the Fat Chocobo falls in the sky
Oh yeah.
and just goes...
Washes them all.
It's like... Do that again!
And you would. And yeah, I certainly did that a fair bit as well.
But, you know, playing that game... This is going to be an embarrassing conversation. When
Taco talk speed cut.
Sephiroth releases the weapons, or I don't know if he releases the weapons or the world releases the weapons, whatever happens, it's very fucking confusing shit. I think I'm a bit traumatized. I don't know why. I know it's a game, but I guess it's because Final Fantasy involves you so much in what's going on in that world that when that shit gets released, my heart started racing. And I was like, okay, that's a kid thing, whatever. And I've just recently replayed it on Steam because I was like, why not? I don't have a PlayStation at the moment. I bought this on a Steam sale. Sure. Worst thing was, the exact same thing started happening. Like, I'm watching this cutscene and the 4 weapons are flying out, and I'm like, far out.
You've been traumatized by it all.
I don't know. Like, it's just so intense, man. Like, that to me is like another memory.
But I mean, that's still the whole idea with games, film, anything that's meant to tug on the heartstrings is meant to make you feel things. So I guess it's just a sign of how good a game it was that that even in young 7 or 8 year old Damo or now mid-20s Damo, that
20 years has
still-
passed and I'm still traumatized.
it still elicits the same sort of reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, most of my memories will stem from... I mean, I've got some of those from Final Fantasy 6, 7, not so much 8, I kind of just circumstances and my love for Zelda at the time kind of meant that was be all and end all. But then Final Fantasy 9, I've got so many memories from Final Fantasy 9 because that is my favourite game full stop, not just in the Final Fantasy series. Yeah, there's some awesome memories there from things like in The Hunt. Do you remember, did you play much of Final Fantasy 9?
Oh man, you lent it to me. Of course I fucking played
The
awesome.
Hunt in Lindblom, however you pronounce this thing. I don't know, we didn't have voice acting back in the PS1.
First town, big town.
One of the first really big hub that you arrive at.
Just grind the
And
fuck
that was fantastic. The music in the background, the Hunter's theme there was a whole bunch that was just awesome about it. And I mean, there's been plenty of times where I've gone to replay the game and not made it much past that because I've been sucked into other new releases or something like that. But so I've heard that and played through that particular scene a lot.
Yeah.
But it continues to stick out. And then there's others from Final Fantasy X. Laughing scene is more of a traumatic.
Oh shit! So
more of a traumatic memory.
you were talking like Final Fantasy memories in general.
Yeah, it's just.
Oh shit, man! I only went on 7. I'm sorry. You can keep going. with the memories.
Yeah, okay. I'll quickly rattle that off. But memory how rubbish 13 was. And then my 10 years of hype and anticipation for Final Fantasy 15. I mean, there's numerous others as well, but yeah. So go back to yours and kind of the franchise as a whole.
Oh yeah, shit. Sorry. So like, I've played a couple of Final Fantasies here and there. Like, I mean, I played 6 as well, or 3, whatever we classify it as.
It's 6 now. Now that they've kind of synced everything up, they've released everything out here now.
Oh yeah. So alright. So 6. Played 6. Love it when you can suplex a train.
Oh yeah.
That's fucking... Even the comic, it's like, 7, you can't do that! Watch me! He just suplexes the train. It's like, great. Like, especially the gifs that go with it. Or like Guile's theme with everything. It's been great. And I don't know, man. It was a really cool... Because it started on Final Fantasy 7 and then I went back to that. And I was like, holy shit. Like, even though the graphics are completely...
Well, they're more
different
in comparison.
It's just so... Yeah, again, it's still immersive, though. It was great. And then 8. Yeah, I actually enjoyed 8 a fair bit. I hired it the first time I played it. So I hired it for a week from Movies Plus.
And you realised that wasn't enough, so you need to hire another 10 weeks.
Oh, no, I knew that I was going to be able to get through much of it. Unfortunately, like, I never got, around to buying it for ages and ages. I'm one of those Final Fantasy fans that don't buy them until they're platinum, which, that was a kid, I didn't have the funds, so... and then, it finally became platinum, and I bought it, and I was like, non-platinum, guys, it's where the money is. Rob Paul, not me.
Anyway, continue.
And you just sit there and, like, I finally was, like, talking to this kid, and he's like, oh, did you get this and this and this? I'm like, what? How do you know all this? And he's like, walkthroughs. And that's when, like, walkthroughs started being a thing. And I can't remember the name, but you get, like, a magic lantern.
Wait, which Final Fantasy was this again? I'll just check where we're at. Oh, yeah.
And you get a magic lantern that contains a GF. GX?
Yeah,
Guardian
GX.
Forces. 10. Love the laughing scene. I against, probably, I fucking frocked that. Just,
Yeah, that was terrible.
It's great, because I do it. I can tell people, like, laugh out loud, like, just scream, like, it's just, it's
And
beautiful.
they all sound as bad as what was happening in the game as well.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can laugh that loud. I mean, eventually after you finish, you're kind of having a chuckle. Might have been a lack of oxygen that goes to your head. But I loved Final Fantasy X. Like, what's the major song from that? Like Return to Zendikar or something? Xanarkand. Return to Zendikar is Magic the Gathering. It was sweet, and like how the game starts, like before you actually enter the game, like it starts with the mid-end. You know how, like, and then it goes into...
And then it kind of flashes back and tells the story. Yeah, one of the spheres.
Sphere Ball or whatever it was called.
I was in the sport, Blitzball.
Blitzball! Man, I need to refresh myself on all this. That was really cool. Unfortunately, I wasn't a massive fan of the sphere grid system.
Oh, man.
But,
I mean, we could talk mechanics and those sorts of things.
Well, I was going to say, we could probably talk mechanics.
I think that was a fantastic feature. I think they did that really, really well.
Yeah, problem I had was I didn't get it.
Yeah, okay.
And because I was such a hardcore 7 fan that Materia was just my jam.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't get Materia.
Well, it was pretty clear cut though, that's the thing, where like you equip this is what it does.
Yeah.
Whereas with the sphere grid there was so much choice. Like I probably am in the similar camp where I probably didn't get it just like you, except that for me it was just a case of I'm just going to fill up this entire sphere grid. So by the end it didn't matter because I had everything. Like I unlocked every individual sphere.
Whoa!
Everyone had filled it. Now, if I had similar time, I would do that on the remaster they put out for the PS3 and PS4 and knock that trophy out of the park. But I can't justify the 200 hours it might take me to do it.
Yeah.
Like I spent.
Can you get the AP egg or something like that?
Yeah,
one of the items you get the AP egg.
There'll be ways to boost it. But,
yeah, you put like a band on your controller, like it moves it in this one part of the game.
Yeah, you just kind of keep.
But then again, I think that would be about close to fucking 40 hours just to get that AP.
See, again, I didn't even know or think of any of those sorts of things when I was, and so it was a solid week. It would have been school holidays. It was just a solid week where I'm just sitting in my room and I'm just running around in circles, just grinding.
I always did the crazy 8.
Yeah.
That was a Final Fantasy 8 thing, because when the 2 people were behind you and you did the crazy 8, like they'd always just be weaving with each other. It looked really cool, but yeah. But, no, I don't give a fuck, man. I never knew you went that fucking deep into.
But that was I'm not going to do that again. Like I did play or replay the remaster, and I couldn't justify probably what would be another 100 hours.
What about 10
having already finished it? I actually haven't ever fully finished it. It just didn't grab me the same way.
Sure. Nah, that's fine.
But
I
am eager to replay it again. Like I finished 10, I attempted then to play 10-2, and I just didn't. I ended up new releases came out. Like I took advantage of an empty window, smashed out 10, thought I'd be able to roll through 10-2, and just didn't get through it quickly enough. So I had to move on. I will go back to it at some point.
I mean, I read an article. This is going to jump to another thing. I read an article and it was like they really did save the best for last, and it was talking about Final Fantasy 12 being like one of the last PS2 games to come out. on the PS2. And what were your thoughts on 12? Like, I mean, I frothed 12.
Well, it did a lot of things different.
Yeah.
And some would argue that the gambit system kind of took a lot of control out of the player's hands, but I was okay with it. Like, it just added a layer of strategy that you had to think about in terms of how you prepared and going into combat, knowing what you're up against, being prepared, and then going from there. Sure, the other NPCs would play themselves.
Yeah.
But you still have to know what you're doing, otherwise you're going to get smashed.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed the gambit system. I loved the bounty system too, like, going out and getting the bigger monsters. Like, that was really cool. It was like, and grinding. Grinding was really sweet too. And I was really happy that from 10 they kept that whole, like, touch the sphere thing, gain your life back, because it makes grinding so much better.
Yeah, because you just grind right next to one.
Yeah, and like I think, and it was cool because like everything had the percentage chance that it was going to be there, it wasn't going to be there, and you could just change that by like leaving 2 screens, coming back 2 screens, and it could be there.
Resets, there was lots of good about 12. I thought the characters were a little bit bland in general, except for Belfier, the kind of gunslinging Han Solo sort of character.
Oh,
do you remember him at all?
Yeah.
I thought he was really, really interesting.
He had like the rabbit.
The friend with the rabbit. I can't think of her name, but
it's been way too long for me to.
Yeah, the rest of the cast were a bit. But he was a real highlight. He's one of my favourite characters, full stop.
Agree with that.
But I saw 12 as being a lot like kind of very MMO-ish in some of its tendencies, which I guess they probably learnt a little bit from the fact that, and this can bridge into our next little subtopic, the 2 online games that they've released, 11 and 14.
That would make a lot of sense.
So in the case of 12, they would have learned a lot from what they'd done with 11 in terms of the online space, and then modified that, tweaked it to kind of suit the offline nature that is the core Final Fantasy game. What do you think of the online games? Have you played any of them before?
No, I haven't played them. I've seen them get played, and I've heard some really cool stories from them. Like, I don't know, because you don't watch much anime and stuff like that, so it's hard for me to compare this to. But, like, when they're in an online game, they always talk about guilds and things like that, and, like, there's always these, like, elite guilds, like, these is the people that everyone wants to be in. And I remember someone, like, telling a story about that, like, how one of their friends just, like, grinds the shit out of playing the online game, loves it to pieces. And, actually a female gamer, she's a part of it. What's her name? Name's friggin' thing.
It's escaped you.
But, no, it's fine. I've never played it myself. But, I mean, if people are enjoying them, I don't think I can shit rain down on them. Not my choice of, what they should do. Like, I don't think it should be a part of the, 1 to... Don't put them in the numbers. Like, do it like an off-spin thing.
No, probably shouldn't be numbered, but they're good games regardless from what I can gather.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I haven't played them. I was very, very hesitant back in kind of what would have been early teens, I guess, when 11 first came out, that I didn't want to fall down the subscription model path that was 11. I saw so many friends kind of losing so many hours and so much money to World of Warcraft that I didn't want to kind of fall into it, because I knew Final Fantasy would capture me because it's a franchise that I've adored for my entire life.
Yep.
And didn't want to fall down that way. Then 14 came along and initially was a disaster. Reviews were awful. It's because the game was really, really poor. So they kind of went back and did this Final Fantasy 14, a Realm Reborn version, which is apparently unreal. I do have a copy of it for PS3 and I just never got around to starting it. But I will at some stage find some time for it, because I know that if I install it on my PS3, they did a thing where you can upgrade to the PS4 version and play it that way, so I'll just sit down on this bad boy and play it that way.
Cheeky.
Well, I bought that before they'd released the PS4 version.
No one's judging you.
But yeah, since I never played it, I'll just upgrade when the time comes. But yeah, there's a hardcore community for both the online games, in particular 14 these days. But, and it's not to the same massive scope as World of Warcraft, but more than enough to sustain itself in the servers and all the time and effort they put in to support it.
The hardest thing that any new Japanese kind of MMO is going to suffer from now is that everybody wants the Oculus feel. Everyone wants the virtual reality. Everyone wants to jump in and be their character now. Like, we're at that point where it's so close, and, like, you know, every little bit of media is not helping. They just want it. They want this. They want the full immersion. Really. I mean, good on them if they do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll
IBM's
see what
going to
happens.
drop something like that, but it's a different topic.
Alright, so we'll look at some of the like we suggested that 11 and 14 should be maybe spin-offs rather than core numbered games. There's a range of other spin-offs though, including things like Chocobo Racing and the Tactics franchise and little spin-off sequels like Final Fantasy 12, Revenant Wings on the DS and DS? Yeah. Those sorts of games. What do we think of some of those other spin-offs? And feel free to start wherever you want with this.
Love me Chocobo Racing. Love Chocobos in general. Like, what a great mode of transportation.
Giant
Great
chicken.
character. Yeah.
They're great.
They're just good. And now, like, the theme too. Like, that being said, Final Fantasy VII, Electric to Chocobo or Fiddle to Chocobo faves. But no, I loved it. I got one for the DS as well. Like Chocobo Tales or something like that, and you've got to go into like.
Yeah, they did some like procedurally developed dungeon kind of crawling games as well, using chocobos, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I love them. Final Fantasy Tactics, you brought that up. I played a bit of that too.
Which one have you played? Or which ones?
Oh, I don't know. Because you know why I don't know? Because they had fucking jobs. And I don't like jobs. And that's another segment, yes.
That's another thing we'll talk about.
But, yeah, that's about it. I mean, I think they're great. It opens people up. I even enjoyed the Beat game, the game where you had to do the music.
Oh, Theatre Rhythm. For the one for the DS, 3DS, that stuff.
My friend had it
Final
on the
Fantasy.
My friend had it on the iPad and the DS, so I played on the iPad. It was fine.
I try and pretend that mobile gaming doesn't exist.
It was fine.
But yeah, you could get it on iPad or iOS, Android, whatever. All right, so classes and whatnot. By the way, Tactics is amazing. You should definitely go and try them. There's the original game on the PS1, which I'm sure is probably available somewhere digitally. There was War of the Lions, which was essentially kind of a remake of sorts for it on the PSP. And then there's Tactics Advance and Advance A2 on the Game Boy Advance, and then the DS,
the one I played.
3DS, whatever. My first experience with the Tactics franchise was Advance, and I loved it.
I love the story and everything like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not crapping on any Final Fantasy that has got jobs in it. But, like, I just found, like, I'm not... I mean, the problem is I'm only now getting into Fire Emblems and things like that. So, like, I didn't understand the role of jobs. You know what I mean? And I agree with Paul. Go and check out Tactics. It is cool. It's such a different style of gameplay. It's crazy. You really have to think out your moves.
Yeah, and that's the nature of a tactics or strategy kind of based game. But for me, classes, like as much as I like tactics, I wasn't a fan of classes in the core games. Yeah. So I was pretty happy when they kind of moved away from that from 5, 6 onwards. I can't remember which one it was. 6, I think.
6, I'm pretty sure 6.
6 definitely had no classes. I just can't remember which one was the one that kicked it off with. It was 5 or 6. But it was, I think I like my predefined characters, and this is their role, and if they happen to be a black mage, if they happen to be a white mage, or the warrior, or whatever kind of class you want to call them, fine. That was okay with me, but because I knew the constraints that I had and I could work with it. Being able to, I need to change this person's job to do this, like it got a little bit too much for me. And it doesn't quite engage in the same way. And I don't feel like you can build necessarily the same emotional attachment to some of the characters if you're flicking them in and out all the time or changing them around, or even just cosmetic changing them around to suit a new role or job or class that they've got.
No,
I can appreciate the depth though that's involved. There's a lot of, in the same way as the Tactics franchise, like there's a lot of strategy involved in that.
Oh yeah, like and that's the thing. Like you work out like what jobs suit you and things like that. I just think it's not my play style. Like I'm not shitting on it. Like I don't like it. And I remember I walked into a game store and I'm like, okay, I want a Final Fantasy game that doesn't have jobs. I think jobs is what I called it at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think that was from Final Fantasy 3. It came out on the DS. They called them jobs.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't like them. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, wow. Oh. Not a lot you can do. I don't think she understood. She didn't really play Final Fantasy.
No, fair enough. We'll move on again to some of the more iconic things about the franchise, kind of big picture ideas, things that have carried across multiple games. So, obviously, you spoke about Chocobos and how they've kind of become embedded in every Final Fantasy game, nearly every spin-off, all that sort of stuff. There's Moogles as well that have crept in.
Moogles, yeah.
They weren't there from the get-go, but they crept in and became a staple of the franchise. But even things like the music, Sid. There's a Sid in every game.
Oh, Biggs and Wedge.
Biggs and Wedge pop up, yeah, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, things like the music, even the art style, like I described the old NES or SNES games as primitive, but probably artistically they hold up better than those PS1 games because I think there's just pixel art just holds up better than some of that really blocky sort of design you see in 7, 8, 9, that sort of thing. Yeah, well,
every time you hit the button wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, what do we think of some of the audio-visual, other iconic things about the franchise? Is there any particular music that stuck out with you? Seven's one of your favourites and it's famed for its music.
7 is where, like, the new Aerith theme.
The opening theme, the bombing mission.
See,
go look up the trailer for the remake.
Not really. I mean, it's cool. Crazy Motorcycle. It's the one reason why I still haven't bought a motorbike because I would have headphones in and I'd be like, I'd be like freaking flying around.
And then you crash into someone, don't you?
Yeah, that's it. The boss theme too, really cool. Yeah, Final Fantasy X had some cool tracks too. 9 had some like.
9's
nostalgic feels to it.
9 is unreal.
Real nostalgic.
Criminally underappreciated in all respects.
Yeah, that's fair. It is his favourite, not yours. Like it's his.
Yeah, it's Uematsu's favourite as well. Who's the composer for the franchise?
It's hard to believe. I don't know. I like the surprise theme of like great, not plot twist per se, but like fucking what the fuck moments. Like just like you sit there,
burning house, sword out. That's
and
spoilers skewing Aerith. It doesn't matter.
Spoilers.
The game's 20 years old, so you've had your chance.
Like
20 years old.
With like Final Fantasy VIII, when you like the sniper takes a shot and like the sorceress just goes. It's like, I totally thought that was going to happen. Like, I thought she was just going to get shot and that was going to be it. And then, like, the cool things that just keep happening. I don't know. Even 10, like, finding out, like, what sin really was. It was like...
And we won't spoil that one because that is a little more recent. And there's a remaster out there for you to enjoy. So
that's it. But, like, I think the visuals have held up. Regardless of being pixel art... I think that it's kind of like you envisioned it differently as you played it. Like, I mean, Sephiroth to me, wasn't this just plainish kind of thing with green eyes and white spiked out hair? Like, when he's standing in that fire, I saw what they brought in Advent Children. Like, that was what I pictured as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, it was monstrous.
Yeah,
it
you
was
could extend
killer.
what you could see on the screen into what...
Yeah, like, and
in a
it's...
more real-life context.
Just,
You felt like a monster.
Yeah, your perception of it just changes because of the immersion of the game that the game provides. One Winged Angel, I forgot to mention.
Yeah, no, it's an iconic track. Just if you go to any sort of video game orchestra kind of music show, doesn't matter if it's not dedicated to Final Fantasy, you can guarantee One Winged Angel will be there because it's just huge. But alright, so we'll kind of move to slightly more modern stuff and then we'll start to wind this thing down. So many would suggest that the franchise has been a little bit on the slide recently. There wasn't, though it was still really well received, 12 wasn't glowing like it had been in the past. And then 13 originally got a lot of praise, and I'll admit, like I did a review for it way back in the day, and I think I got hit by the nostalgia stick and kind of fell hook, line and sinker for it, but woke up to it later down the track that it was a case of, no, this was just one big corridor that I played down. Has maybe Final Fantasy hit its peak, and is it on the downhill?
Well, everyone has a slump. At some point, you've got to have a slump. Like, we've all been there. We've all had, like, you know, rough periods and things like that. And, you know,
Experience wasn't flying at the time, by the way. The company itself was in a little bit of a...
Yeah, and you've got to try new things.
Yeah.
You try and bring in a broader audience, and it pisses off some of the OGs, or, you know... I don't think they're... Yeah, maybe they've hit a slump, but, you know, maybe their games aren't as great as, you know, others hold up to be, but, you know... There's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
Like, and even... I think
they learned a lot from it.
Yeah.
And sure, like, someone like, 13-2 and Lightning Returns were a bit more of the same, but I think that was they needed to make their money back on the investment they put into 13, which is an issue that they've had for a long time, and we'll get to 15 now, but they've had massively long development cycles.
Yeah.
13 took a long time before it came about, and for a brief period they were stuck in development hell. 12 was a long time. 10 not so bad, but since kind of since the end of 12 onwards, the development cycle's been ridiculous. Final Fantasy 15, which at the end of March, I believe it's the 30th, will be getting its release date announced, and it's been in development for 10 years.
When we're in year 12, this man sitting next to me jumps on a website and goes, hey, guess what?
Look at this.
Look at this. And it was Final Fantasy Versus. It was like 2 Final Fantasies being built at the exact same time. I was like, oh my god, this is really cool. I can't believe this is happening. Like, one looks really bright and colourful, the other one looked dark and ominous.
Yeah, no, it was a good sort of contrast to have. And at the time, both of them were expected to be PS3.
Yeah.
Both at the time were announced as PS3 exclusives. This was before kind of Microsoft got involved.
Yep.
With 360, and there was that big moment when Final Fantasy 13 finally got announced as being multi-platform, which aggravated numerous people.
Yeah, I'll honestly admit.
But, we've grown up. We're better than that. We're teenagers. But now 15's finally coming to both. It got re-revealed in 2013 as no longer Versus 13, but Final Fantasy 15.
Yep.
Thoughts on the game? Brief thoughts on the game?
I played the, I don't know what you call it, a tech demo or whatever.
Episode Duskai or whatever it is, the demo.
Yeah. It's cool. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's invigorating. It's refreshing, to say the least. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not my Final Fantasy 7, but...
It doesn't need to be.
Exactly right. It doesn't have to be like any other Final Fantasy in the past. And I don't know, man. I kind of really like the whole... He's getting hit, and he's just like... And he's doing those cool, dodge things and stuff. And I don't know, it felt really cool.
I think, it's more action-oriented from what we've seen and from what we've played. But it's a case of, I think there's the depth there for the Final Fantasy fan, the hardened Final Fantasy fan that knows their way around the systems. That's all still there, but then there's still this pick up and play. You don't have to know it. You can just kind of pick up swords, start mashing buttons and kind of slash away. Not through, you'll have to learn those mechanics in time, but if you get thrown in the deep end early on, you could probably fumble and bumble your way around it until
you could probably escape. That's definitely, because I'm pretty sure in that,
it's essentially open world.
Yeah, there was some big things walking around that I'm like,
I'm not going anywhere near.
Yeah, yeah, the typical open world stuff. If you see something big and you're at level 5,
get away.
Don't think you can take it on.
That behemoth, which the whole idea of the demo is that you're meant to be able to take down this behemoth, and it was terrifying.
Yeah.
They've done such an exceptional job of developing that, almost a character, really. It scared the Jesus out of me. I didn't want to go anywhere near that thing, and yet my goal was I need to kill this thing to progress.
Yeah, no, that's...
So if they're doing that, if they're putting that sort of time and effort into every other kind of monster, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Um,
I would really just like to see, you know, how we like first watched the trailer for it or whatever thing, and like the dude's like walking and all the swords are coming, like came out of him, and
the shield around him.
and like, you know, it Gilgameshy kind of feel. I'd really like that to see that, but apart from that, I'm happy wherever they take this. I mean, if I don't have a next gen console by the time it comes out, you can be guaranteed that I will be having a next gen console.
Well, let's talk about when it comes out, because the announcement is going to be March 30th. They're getting Kind of Funny's Greg Miller and Tim Geddes to announce it, which is a strange pairing given that Greg doesn't like the franchise historically. Tim adores it. But the talk out of Square Enix is that, again, it doesn't matter what your personal preferences are, there's a different Final Fantasy, it's immediately accessible, large audience, potential audience there. When do we think it'll be? If they're making the announcement on March 30th, stab in the dark. Let's just. We've got nothing to base this on.
June the 24th. It's my birthday. They might as well give me something.
Is that a Thursday or something? Is that a typical release day? I don't have my phone on me.
Look,
but
you wanted me to take a stab in the dark. Sure, I'm gonna.
It'll be a nice birthday present. In fact, you got a chance. It's a Friday, which is in the sort of ballpark. It's not out of the realms that they might release it then. Australians get our games on Thursdays for the most part. I'm gonna.
June 16th. That's like 15 people's birthdays that I know.
I would love for it to be in that sort of ballpark because at the moment that's kind of an empty window. May's beginning to fill up. There's Mirror's Edge. There's Uncharted 4 just got delayed there today, and a number of others. In August you've got Deus Ex. June there's meant to be No Man's Sky. I think is about the only thing that's kind of projected for that. But it's that. For us, winter window is pretty open, so I'd love to see it in there, but I get the feeling it might be September, October.
I mean, the cool thing is, like, we get, like, 2 weeks holidays, but I'm pretty sure, like, that's America's, like, big holidays, isn't it? Like, that's their summer break is coming up. Like, it'd be a good time to drop it. Like, I'm not saying do it on my birthday or anything, make it special for me, but...
Well, no, the thing is that, they're a big Japanese publisher, so they adhere to their Japanese audience.
Yeah.
First and foremost. I would imagine, like 13, they made sure it was a worldwide release date, simultaneous release date. They'll presumably do the same here. I don't know, I feel like maybe September, October, which would suck because that'll become a very crowded window.
Yeah.
As it always is. But there are less big open RPGs this year than we've seen in the past. Like last year was crazy with your Witches and Fallouts and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
This year you've got Final Fantasy, presumably Horizon Zero Dawn, but there's not a hell of a lot else left in terms of big open RPGs. So there's a window for it to excel and get the numbers that it needs.
Now, this has been in development forever and ever. So before we do, like, tie this over and finish it, what's next after this, you reckon?
Well, they're already sitting on a bunch of stuff. Like, they're working on... it'll be interesting to see how quickly things go, because we commented on these long timelines, and Final Fantasy 15's taken 10 years. They're working on Kingdom Hearts 3 still at the moment, and there's a lot of the assets and team that are working on 15 that are also working on Kingdom Hearts, so they may not get to it for a while. There's the Final Fantasy 7 remake that they're working on that's then supposedly episodic. So who knows how that's going to work. That may be stretched out over 5 years of release for all I know. I don't know how this episodic thing is going to work, and I'd rather not comment too much until I know more. But, I don't know, it could be another, at the current rate they're working, it could be another 10 years before we see 16 or whatever the next big thing is. And that would upset me a little bit.
Yeah, but, if they did do that...
Well, the 15 development timeline was a little bit wonky anyway. There was delays, it then had to migrate from console to console.
Yeah, that's...
So, yeah.
Not fun at all for...
To a whole new generation.
I'm guessing there's probably going to be an expansion or something for 15.
They've spent so much money, they'll want to do something extra to pull in some more dollars.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 7 coming out. Hopefully another movie.
Not as in the original Final Fantasy movie. As in like a...
it's an Advent Children kind of a thing. Like, even an animated series on 6, that was a fan fave.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know. I trust them. Like, I'm happy with whatever.
I did. There was a period around that 13 period for the few years after, because it was taking so long for them to do anything, that I was getting really sceptical. But from what I've seen in 15, I think they're starting to win me back, and it seems like they're starting to win some of the fans back as well. Let us know what you think about that in the comments, by the way. You know, have you starting to fall back in love with it or not? But
yeah, that'd be nice. Nice to hear from you. The whole 6.
Yeah, yeah, you and your 5 buddies. So we might wrap it up there.
Oh.
I think we've pretty much covered off on everything. Nothing super comprehensively, but when you're talking about the whole franchise as a whole,
Yeah, it's called DLC.
Tricky. But
What do you expect?
we might revisit it at some other point, especially when 15's out, or once we know a release date. Those sorts of things. There's room for us to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, if you guys like this, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff, and we'll do more. Like, you know, if you really want to see more of this, chuck it in the comments. Be like, yeah, we want more. Like, go in depth about your Final Fantasy. Go in depth about 9. Like, I know a bunch of you probably haven't played 9. This man got me onto it. Listen to it. Get on it. I loved it. I thought it was one of my in there on my top, you know, list of games I've played. Really.
But yeah, I guess we'll wrap that up. So if you want to see any more, there's a range of different podcasts and things that you can find at player2.net.au. You can track Damo at Taco's Talks on Twitter.
Yep.
Worth having a look. You don't post a hell of a lot of gaming related stuff, but
we're going to be getting around to doing more stuff to promote stuff.
But he's got also his own podcast and those sorts of things as well, so it's worth looking into. You can hit up Player 2 for the Video Games Club, other episodes of Patched, as well as the regular Player 2 podcast and Stephen's Backup Memory. There's lots of great content there, audio, video for you to go see, as well as some amazing written content as well. So jump in and take a look at that. But otherwise, I think that's it. So as Damo said before, like, share and subscribe wherever you can. Every new friend of ours helps.
And retweet. Just
share the
fun.
love.
But do it.
But like I said, tell us a little bit about Final Fantasy in the comments down here. And until then, that's Patched. We'll see you next month, where Jay will be back with us. He's absent at the moment. We killed him. See you later, guys.
Take care.